Alright, so we're here checking out your assignment 9 turn-in. Thanks for sending in that FBX file and the screenshots that cleared up the issues. My, does some funny stuff sometimes. It's a pretty complex program, so most of the time it works the way we want it to, but sometimes it just doesn't. So thanks for getting that in. Now we can take a closer look at your hand UVs. Okay. So, honestly, the hands, even though they're pretty small compared to the rest of the body, there are a whole lot of faces in the hands. Alright, it's pretty dense geometry in here, so there's actually quite a bit, and it'll take quite some time to get these completely done. What we'll do today in this video is go ahead and do one of the hands, alright, and I'll leave the other one up to you, but we'll just start with one, and I'll just kind of show you, a technique that I would use to UV those hands, alright. Basically, when you're doing UV maps, you kind of want to think about either stretching the UVs or creating more seams in your texture, okay? So that's kind of the trade-off with UVs, alright? You're either going to be wrapping things around and unfolding them and stretching them out, which is going to cause shrinking and stretching in your texture when you put it on your hand, alright? Or you're going to be cutting the UVs into different separate pieces to minimize the stretching, but that's going to cause seams in your texture, alright? So anywhere that you've got outside edges, when you go in and paint your texture onto your hand later, that's when you're going to see some seams in the texture that you've painted, alright? So, what we're going to do is, the plan for the hand is basically that we're going to have two different UV shells for each hand, okay? One UV shell will be basically the top of the hand, and the other UV shell will be the bottom of the hand, okay? So basically, these will look roughly like a snapshot of the bottom of the hand and the top of the hand. That's kind of what you're going for. What that does is that puts the seam kind of right down the side of the hand here, alright, and in between the fingers where it's not very likely to be seen, okay, by someone who's checking out your model. This is kind of a place where probably, it's going to be the least noticeable. So that's where we're going to put our seam. And, a good way to start once you've decided where you want your seam to be is to go ahead and select all the edges in that seam and use the cut tool to cut those two different pieces apart. Alright, so I'm going to go to edge mode here, and I'll start, I think I'll start right here, and I just double clicked on that edge. When you double click, it will select everything that's along that edge loop. That's why we keep all our geometry nice and square, four-sided polygons, so that we can very easily select things like that. So you can see just with that one double click, I've selected this entire seam all the way along the hand, alright? So basically, this is kind of where our seam's going to happen. Everything on the top, up above this seam, is going to be part of one shell for the top of the hand, and everything beneath this, under here, is going to be part of a second UV shell for the bottom of the hand, alright? So once I've selected all of that, I'm going to go ahead and use my UV, my separate UV tool. Okay, looks like a little pair of scissors here, and I'm just going to go ahead and cut that, alright? And it doesn't look like anything has happened at all, but it actually has gone in and cut those UVs, and we'll take a closer look and see how that happened in just a moment. Now, when I come in here to edge mode, the edges actually light up orange when I select them, and since our background color at the moment is this nice peach color, which is super close to orange. It might be a good idea to just kind of turn this color off for a moment. We can do that right here with this button, display image on off. Alright, it looks like a little face. You click on that and that'll get rid of that background color. Now it can also be a little difficult to see things against this gray when all we've got is these little outlines. Sometimes it can be difficult to see where the outside edges of things are. So it's also helpful a lot of times to turn on your shaded UV display right here. Okay, so it's these two little boxes. And that just kind of helps it sort of separate from the background there for us, alright? So what I'm going to do now is, we've determined we want two pieces. One is going to be the bottom, one is going to be the top of the hand, right? So let's go ahead and kind of just organize the UV shells that we have into either the top of the hand or the bottom of the hand, and we'll figure out where all these little pieces go. And we'll also figure out which pieces are part of the other hand, alright? So I'll start with this right here, okay? I'm just going to grab one UV on the outside edge here, alright, just one at a time. And I'm going to go ahead and hold down Shift and the period key, and that's going to, basically, you're typing a greater than symbol. Whenever I do that, the UV I selected, automatically a couple of UVs next to that UV will also be selected, and then when I press it again, some more will be next to those, alright, and I can keep doing that till I've selected this entire UV shell, alright? Doesn't hurt anything if I keep pressing it, it's just going to grab whatever's in that shell and nothing else. So we can see, if we look at our scene here, that this piece is part of the bottom of the hand that we're working on. So I'm going to, just for now, I'm just going to place this right here. Okay, I'm going to say, alright, any piece that belongs to the bottom is just going to come right up here. That's where we're going to place all those things. Let's go ahead and try this one now. I'll just grab one UV on the outside, on the bottom here, and use my Shift key, my greater than symbol. Okay, I'll just keep clicking that till things stop lighting up. And let's see, so you can see nothing's lighting up on my hand here. That's actually part of the other hand, alright? So I'm going to move that over there for now, alright? We haven't really cut this other hand along the seam yet, so this may not be quite set up correctly yet, so don't forget about that. And you also may get little teeny tiny things like this, alright? Don't forget these little tiny pieces. Take a look around, see if they seem to belong to anything, see if you can notice where things are lighting up. Okay, so you can see if I look at my other hand here, that's part of my other hand. So I'm going to put that right up over there. And we'll keep looking. One of these is bound to be, the top of this hand that we're working on. You can see here's the thumb area on the bottom, and we already have the bottom of our hand that we're working on over here, so we can pretty much safely assume that this top of the hand is going to be the top of the hand that goes with the hand that we're working on, alright? So again, I just grabbed one UV, I'm going to use Shift greater than symbol, or Shift period to make a greater than symbol, and you can see that light up. That's the top of the hand, just like we were expecting. And we'll just pull it right over here. I'll say, okay, anything that's part of the top of the hand is going to come down here next to this one. Anything that's part of the bottom of the hand, we'll put right there. Alright? So let's figure out what all these other little pieces are. We know this is the bottom of the other hand, right? We're not really going to separate the other hand into top and bottom pieces yet because we haven't really cut it appropriately yet. We haven't gone in and cut along the seam there, so there may be some things that are kind of disorganized about that one still. But we'll keep working on this. So when I grab this piece, you can see it lighting up right here. And we can just take a look and see, all right, you know, is this part of the bottom shell or is this part of the top shell? And we can see that it's below our center line, all right, which is right here, okay? And so we know this is part of the bottom of the hand, so we're going to set it next to the bottom of the hand here, okay? We'll grab another piece, use that shift greater than to select it, and we'll see, okay, does this belong to this hand or the other hand? And we can see nothing's lighting up here. It belongs to the other hand. So I'll just place that over there with the other pieces. Grab another one here. And you can just keep going along and grabbing things and just figuring out, alright, you know, which hand does this belong to, and is it part of the top or is it part of the bottom? Okay, so when I grab this one, you'll see that it actually splits right apart. So it looks like it's all one solid piece, but by using that shift greater than key, that lets me see these as two separate pieces. Alright, so if I had just grabbed this like this and assumed that these were both part of the same piece, I wouldn't have been able to determine that this was the top or the bottom of the hand, because you can see we've got parts from the bottom of the hand here as well as parts from the top, alright, our seam being right along here. Okay, so when we did that split at the beginning, when we used our cut tool on that seam that we created, we split apart a lot of these pieces that still seem to be not split, alright? These pieces that seem like one solid piece, some of them have been split into either the top or the bottom, so just watch out for that. Don't just grab whole pieces, just grab one UV and use that shift greater than symbol so that you can really separate these out. Okay, so this bit is going to belong to the top of the hand, and the other piece here, we'll grab that as well. That's all going to belong to the bottom half of the hand. Alright, so we'll put it over there. Don't forget to look for little teeny tiny straggler pieces, because they can be pretty hard to spot. You can see how teensy tiny that one is. You know, it's easy to miss if you're not paying attention or looking closely. Okay, so this little tiny piece does belong to the hand that we're working on. It belongs to the bottom half. So we'll put that over there with the other bottom half pieces. So you can see, you know, just the first real thing that you need to do to get this puzzle figured out is to just kind of come up with a plan for organizing these things and figuring out just where they go. Alright, so here we've got, again, here this piece is sort of split in half, alright, even though it looked like one piece. This is the bottom half. And we've got another half here that belongs to the top of the hand. Sometimes it can help to zoom in as well if you're not quite sure. Alright, so there we go. This is the top half. There you go. And this is the bottom half. belongs to the bottom of the hand. And this bit belongs to the top of the hand. Let's see where this mystery piece belongs. Okay, so that is part of the top. And this one's part of the bottom. So you can see, you know, it gets a little tedious, especially with a UV set that has so many different polygons involved, but we'll get there. Okay, this belongs to the top. That's part of the bottom. And that's part of the bottom of the hand. And this one's going to be part of the top. This is part of the bottom. Part of the top. And there's another piece for the bottom there. And one that's part of the top. This one belongs to the bottom. And this one belongs to the top. This belongs to the other hand, so we'll put that over there with the other pieces from the other hand. This belongs to the top of our hand that we're working on. And this is part of the bottom. This is part of the other hand. So is this one. One. And this belongs over here. And this belongs over here. Sure, I grabbed the whole thing. There we go. It belongs over here as well. Okay, so now we have these somewhat organized. We know that these are all the pieces that make up the bottom shell for the hand. We just need to put them together in a way that makes sense. These are all the pieces that make up the top half of the hand, alright? We just need to put those all together. And this is the other hand, and we haven't really separated them yet into top and bottom pieces, but I'm going to let you do this one, alright? Since it seems, actually it seems a little simpler, there are less pieces here you can see. I'm going to let you do this one based on what we do with this one today. Okay, so don't forget your first step is going to be to go over to that hand, go to edge mode, grab your seam, alright, and do that cut. And then you'll be able to organize these pieces by top and bottom pieces, alright? So, let's go ahead and start putting these together, alright? I'm going to start with the bottom half of the hand because it's going to be a little bit easier, I think, to deal with. it's mostly done. You can see there's a lot of thin slivers to reattach here, but it doesn't look too crazy. This one's gonna have some moving things around, moving some pieces around. That's gonna have to happen. Okay. All right. So basically, this is our biggest piece. All right. This is pretty much looking like the bottom of the hand already. So this is sort of a starting point for us to just kind of use as a reference of, all right, well, this is mostly in place. Let's just start attaching things to this, wherever it seems that they make sense to go, okay? So, if we just kind of start grabbing edges of these mystery pieces, all right, then some edges along this bigger piece will probably light up. Some edges somewhere in here will start lighting up, and they'll likely be on this big piece. Okay, so you can see once I grab those edges, or you may not be able to see in this video, but in your own work, you'll probably be able to see that this is actually orange. This is lit up here along the edges. Those are the ones I selected. And so are these, okay? So these are the corresponding edges that go with these ones that we have selected. Meaning that this piece actually attaches right over here to these. Okay, so we can move these into place. Just grab UVs and start moving them nearby the UVs that you're planning to sew them to, okay? So I'm going to move those right there. Kind of makes sense, right? Seems to work. And we'll go back to edge mode. Start grabbing those edges along where we would like to sew. Don't forget that one. And we'll hit the sew tool right up here. Sew those together. Boom. Okay, so now we've already attached one of those stray pieces back to our main bottom of the hand shell. Okay. So let's grab some more stuff and start sewing it on. We can also just kind of come here and say, all right, something probably goes right here, right? This doesn't look all the way complete. It looks like it still needs something. So we can grab some of these edges instead of just grabbing them off of random pieces and say, all right, I want to find the edge that belongs here. And you can see these guys have lit up right here, all right? So we'll go ahead and grab those, pull them over, and you can scale them, you can rotate them, whatever you need to do to get them roughly into place where you want them to be, okay? So you can kind of see how these are going to go, more or less, roughly. Just by sort of matching them up with their neighbors over here. So there we go, you can see those line up pretty well with one another. And then what we'll go ahead and do is start sewing those together, okay? You may also want to check when you get down here just to see, all right, does this piece attach to this one right here? Do these two sew together? Is there something else missing in between there? You can just grab one of these edges, and you can see this other one does not light up, so these two do not attach. There's something else that goes here that's still missing, all right? So I'm going to start grabbing the edges that do sew together, which is going to be all the way along here. You may have to zoom in pretty close to get some of these little tiny ones. Make sure you get all of them. And we'll stop right there and we'll go ahead and sew those. I'm going to move this UV out just a little bit just so we can still see that it's there. Okay, so we've fixed that up a little bit so far. All right, let's keep going with this. We'll grab another set of edges over here and see if we can find where that belongs. So it turns out that this piece is lining up right over here, so it belongs on the other side of this finger that we just worked on. So we'll just grab it, pull it over here, and again we can just use the scale tool and just place that there. I'm going to start sewing that together. Now you'll probably want to take a little more time to line these up a little better and move them into place. Okay, I'm just doing this for the sake of, getting through this in a reasonable amount of time for a video, okay? Somewhat reasonable. For UV maps, they always take a long time. Let's also check on this one and see if it connects to this one down here. And we can see it doesn't, so something is missing here still as well. Alright, just to be aware of that. Let's grab this little piece while we're here and see, if this attaches to something. Just grab a few edges and see what's lighting up. You can also check in your seam window here to see if to kind of get an idea of where it might go. Okay, so this is part of the pointer finger there. All right. You can also go to face mode and grab the faces to see specifically which faces those are. So we know this is part of the pointer finger. So I'm going to set that next to the pointer finger. Alright, so you can see this actually, these edges right along here attach right along here, okay? So we actually have to rotate this one around. Turn it around. It's kind of oriented the wrong way at the moment. And we'll start moving these UVs into place. And at this point we're really kind of starting to stretch these UVs in a strange way. Alright, so this is where that kind of trade-off that we were talking about comes in, where we're trying to minimize stretching if we can, but also minimize seams as much as we can. So we just kind of have to stretch a few things just so that we can get less seams. So these edges right here actually also connect to one another. So these will come to a kind of a corner here, okay? We can even move that in a little bit. Something like that, okay? We'll grab these edges and sew them together. So that one needed quite a bit of reshaping, but we just needed to kind of wrap it around the end of the finger there. And, now it looks pretty good, okay? So let's keep going. There's a couple little tiny pieces around here, so I don't want to forget those, they're pretty hard to see, and we don't want to lose track of them. So let's grab these little teeny tiny ones and place those. So you can see this lights up at the base of the pinky finger, so we know right away that's gonna belong near the base of the pinky finger there. You can grab these edges, so you can see when I grab this edge, this one lights up. So now we know which way we want to rotate it to fit it into this space here. And you can kind of just start placing that. You may have to zoom in a lot since it's such a teeny tiny little UV here. And we'll just go ahead and sew that on, just like that. There we go. Take care of one little teeny tiny piece. Let's see if we can figure out where this tiny piece goes before we lose track of it. Okay, so this is part of the thumb. We'll go ahead and bring this down towards the thumb here. Grab some of these edges and see if anything is lighting up. Okay, so these two are lighting up for these right here. We'll go ahead and go to UV mode. Pull this down. Just putting these into place. And we'll sew that on. There we go. There's another tiny piece down. Okay, so there's one more teeny tiny little piece here. Just one lonely UV. So let's grab that one as well and attach it. Okay, so that's going to be in between the center finger there and the pointer finger. I'm going to scale that down quite a bit because we know this is kind of a tiny space here. And we'll figure out which edge belongs where just by grabbing an edge to see where it attaches. So this one we can see attaches right here. Oops. It's important that you don't grab it in edge mode. Go back to UV mode before you start rotating things around. Otherwise, you may find that you're rotating edges on both sides. So I'm going to start placing these things. And we'll sew these two together. There we go. I'm going to move those over just a little bit because we're going to make room for some pieces that are going to go over here. I'm also going to move quite a few of these over because we're going to need a little more room over here when we bring in the rest of the center finger as well, okay? So you may need to readjust things as you go along as well, okay? Let's grab some more edges and keep putting things together. So this looks like belongs right there where we were just working. That's going to be the side of the center finger there. We'll pull that over. I'm going to set that right there for now. This part is going to actually come wrap around the end of the finger here, just like it did over here. Okay, so this is just going to wrap around. The rest is pretty straightforward. So I'm just going to grab these and start to move them to more or less the areas where they need to connect. So this edge right here is actually going to connect to this edge right here, okay, in the corner of the finger there, okay? Just to kind of get an idea of what we're looking at here and where things are going to go. Alright, so that's probably pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and start sewing some of the more straightforward pieces, and we'll stop when we get to that area where things are going to need to curve around. Okay, so right here I'm going to stop for now. I'll go ahead and sew, and then we'll pull this around and sew that on as well, okay? So this sort of thing can be, a little bit tedious with adjusting the shaping at first, but you'll get there, and it'll get a little easier the more you do this kind of thing. Okay, so it's gonna look something like that. And sew this on. And, since we're working on this center finger, let's just keep going. There's a chunk missing from the other side of the center finger here as well, so we'll just grab some of these and find the appropriate piece over here. Alright, the one that lights up, which is going to be this one. And we'll move that into place. So you can see actually a lot of these pieces are shaped pretty similarly. So after you've done a few of them, it'll be pretty easy for you to actually just kind of guess more or less where things are going, or where they should go. Because you'll have seen these pieces before, very similar pieces, alright? So it'll be kind of the same thing over and over again. Pretty straightforward. Okay, so we've got that piece all in place. Let's just grab the edges now and sew them together. There we go. That piece is done. So you can see already we've only got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces left, it looks like, to sew back on. Let's keep going. I'm gonna grab this one next, just for fun. Let's see where that goes. And, you can probably actually guess just by looking at it, this really long one goes on the side of the hand here. Alright? So I'm going to pull it over to the side of the hand. And we can start to move things into place. Okay, so we've lined that piece up. Start sewing things together. There we go, we'll hit our sew tool there. Got that piece all taken care of. 4 more pieces. Let's keep going. So this is this side of the ring finger. Let's pull it over. Okay, there we go. With that one's all lined up, we'll go ahead and sew this together now. Sew that together. There we go. Alright, let's see what this piece belongs to. And it looks like it belongs to this side of the ring finger. So we'll pull that over. We're getting closer to getting done with this part of the hand. So again, I'm just going to start by lining up the side of the finger, and then we'll come around and work on the end in just a moment, once we've got this all sewn together. We'll sew that together. We'll start moving these end of the finger UVs into place. I'm going to grab all of them this time and just rotate them. It's going to make it a little faster. Okay, that's probably pretty good. Grab those edges, sew them together. There we go. Takes care of that finger. Here's another piece right here. You can probably guess this is part of the pinky. You know, there's not really much left to choose from now. I mean, his piece of the thumb here, and this is the pinky, which is kind of what's left still. So the more of these you do, really, the easier it's going to be to start to tell where things belong, because there will only be a few places left where they could possibly go. And I'll start sewing this together. There we go. Come here to the end of the finger. Move this around. Start putting that into place where I want it to go. Alright, let's sew these together. There we go. So now all that's left is this last piece, which we can see, you know, pretty obviously that this is part of the thumb. Okay, so it belongs right here on this side of the thumb. I'm going to pull that over and rotate it around. And kind of move it somewhat into place. Now, this is going to need a little bit of finagling. Alright, it's not perfectly shaped at the moment the way that it is. Okay, so we're going to have to move a lot of this stuff around. First I'm going to deal with this right here. Okay, so this that's jutting out, this edge, actually is the same as this one right here. Okay, so I can kind of start moving that into place. It's going to look a little crazy at first, but that's okay. And we can see that these little guys are going to come all the way over here. Alright, so we can kind of start to move things into place here. Okay, so I'm going to stop lining things up right there, and we'll deal with the end of the finger here in just a moment. We'll start sewing together other things that we've been working on placing along the finger here. Sew all of that together. Alright, and you know, once you sew something together like that, you probably want to take the time to really even this out, because you can see at the moment things are getting pretty jagged along these UVs here. Okay, so they're not very smoothly laid out at the moment. But I'm not going to go through and smooth all of those out right now, because we'll just be here all day. And I think you get the idea. So we'll also come up to the end of the finger here and start wrapping these around. Okay, the end of the finger. Now, this next one right here is going to be this one. Okay, so you can actually just kind of follow those around. If you ever get confused, stop and grab an edge and see, you know, does this go here? Just check. Okay, so I'm going to say that's close enough. And we'll just sew this together. There we go. Okay, so that was our last piece for the bottom of the hand. Alright, now when we grab this UV shell, we have the bottom of the hand all laid out and ready to paint on, okay? I'm going to leave the top of the hand up to you. There's going to be slightly more space that's needed between the fingers for the top of the hand, okay, because we actually have a few more UVs included on the top of the hand than we had for the bottom. So you will actually need to come in here and grab some of these and move them further away from one another, alright? You'll need to move these fingers pretty far to make space for those UVs that wrap around the sides of the fingers. So just make sure that you space that out quite a bit, all these fingers, so that you can make room for all this other good stuff to go in between there. But I'm going to leave that up to you, since we've gone over, you know, the tricks and techniques, and I'll also leave this up to you over here, this other hand. You know, just a last note, once you get these all done, you may want to size up your hands a little bit more to use up more of this 0 to 1 space. You can also size up your shoes, can't hurt. It'll just give you a higher resolution when you're painting your textures, okay? That's it for this video. Thanks for watching, and happy modeling!